Welcome to another Culture on Avalanche Spaces, Culture on AVAX Spaces. I'm your host, Hodel AVAX. Today we're welcoming Myna. It's a market on Avalanche that specializes in RWAs, also known as real-world assets. That means they're creating digital twins, as they call them, in the form of NFTs that are associated with physical goods, and you can trade them. So how does it all work? We're going to find that out today. Please welcome Myna. Moody is here with us. I don't know if Myna has somebody behind the account that wants to speak as well, but welcome.
Hello, how are you doing? I'm Moody. I'm representing Myna. I'm a project manager at Myna. And if you guys aren't familiar, Myna is a collectibles trading platform where people can buy, sell, and do other various things with collectibles such as sneakers, watches, trading cards. So a lot of the typical things we think as collectibles, like Pokemon trading cards, sneakers, can be traded on Myna. Right now, our main focus is sneakers, but we hope to get into these different collectible markets as well.
Okay, excellent. Well, I touched on it a little bit, but why don't we just start with the absolute basics for anybody that's getting started. What can you explain what RWAs are on the blockchain?
Yeah, RWAs, as the name suggests, are real-world assets, right? Essentially, what happens is that when a user sees something on our platform, they can choose to send it in. It gets sent to our warehouse, and then we digitize it, we tokenize it into a token. In our case, we make it into an NFT, and it can be bought and sold on the AVAX network.
Excellent. And what do you mean by see something on your platform? That means like an asset class that you support, or does it have to be in like a specific asset individual, like a specific shoe, a specific brand, a specific model?
Yeah. So if you go on our platform, this is the flow. We call this the vaulting flow. So a user comes on, they can search for a specific shoe, such as a Jordan 1 Lost and Founds, right? They see that shoe, they like it, they want to send it in. So they search that in on Myna, and they can create a vault order. And so once a vault order is created, they will receive a shipping label, and they can go to their local FedEx office, send that in, use a shipping label to send that shoe in, and in a couple of days it should be in our Myna warehouse where it will be minted as an NFT, and the person can decide to list the item or keep it there at the warehouse. It's up to the user at the end of the day.
Awesome. Well, before we get into like sort of the seller's perspective, because that's much deeper and there's, I think, a lot more to cover there, let's cover it from the buyer's perspective. So like if you don't have kicks that you want to put up there, you're a buyer. Let's talk about that experience. Can you walk me through what it's like buying shoes on Myna?
Yeah, most of us have used OpenSea or Blur. It's eerily similar to that, right? Especially if you're like a Web3 wallet user. You come on Myna, you connect your wallet, you see an item that you like is listed, you just press buy, and the transaction will happen using USDC. And once you press buy, a transaction will go through, and you should receive your item, and the seller should receive USDC. And if you are a non-crypto person, like a Web2 user, you can come on, you can sign in with your email or Google account or Apple account even now. So you sign on, and then you can choose to buy an item with your credit card. Not many marketplaces offer this option. So users can come on and buy an item with their credit card, and they can buy it with their credit card, and they should receive that item in their wallet, or they can choose to buy and instantly redeem it and get it delivered to their place.
Awesome. Yeah, I was going to ask about that. So they don't need to know anything about crypto. They can just come on. To them, it can just appear as a normal like shoe marketplace that they might be used to elsewhere.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? We don't want to overcomplicate this for a lot of users, especially because sneakers are not a very crypto specific thing, right? Sneakers can be bought and sold, and it's a type of market where Web2 and Web3 users are into it. So we design our platform in a way that Web2 users can come on and they can buy, sell, similar to how they do on other platforms. But like if a Web3 power user comes on, they can sign in with their wallet, and they have obviously the same features as like an OpenSea or a Blur.
Awesome. Incredible. I see a couple of requests coming up. I just want to say we're going to have time to ask questions at the end. So I see you. You're acknowledged, Butcher. I will get to you in a little bit. But continuing with that, and maybe this is getting a little too in the nitty gritty, but like kind of last part of the buyer's experience, you mentioned that they can buy with their credit card, they can redeem instantly. What is that specific process like? Is that all one transaction so they're doing that, or does it like they have to go through multiple steps? Can they like just check a box like, hey, I want to ship this immediately, or do they have to go through like a redemption process?
Yeah, so if I come on the platform and I just want to get that shoe, I don't really care about storing it in Myna vault. I just want this item delivered to me. The user can come on and they can select ship to me, and then we will create a redemption order, and it'll just be one action where they buy and it's shipped to them, and they should receive it in a couple of days as well. Most of the time our shipping speeds are between 2 to 3 days, so it's very fast shipping as compared to other marketplaces.
Cool. All right. So buyer, pretty easy, pretty standard sort of experience that you're used to. Let's talk about the seller for a second. So you kind of mentioned the process a little. Mm-hmm. Oh, are you there? Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, perfect.
Yes.
Great. So let's talk seller. You mentioned the seller process. The beginning of that is you go on the site, you see, oh, they offer these pair of Air Jordans that I have, and I want to put them on the platform. I just request shipping label. It comes to me. I send it in. Does that process cost money for the seller?
No. So if they want to do the vault, as we call it, the vault flow, it doesn't cost them anything except the right to the X office. So no, it doesn't cost them anything.
Other than their sneakers, right? Their shoes that they're sending in, right?
Yeah.
So they send it into the vault. Let's talk about the vault a little bit. So how are the shoes stored? How are they protected? Are they insured when they're with Myna?
Yeah. So our vault is a very secure facility. So users can send it to our vault, and they're insured over there. And even during the shipping process, they're insured. So if there's any issue, the user can contact their shipping carrier, and we'll help them through that process as well. So it's a very friendly process, and obviously when it's at our warehouse, it's securely secured. We have temperature controls, everything. We make sure no damages happen to the shoe. So safety is not something the user should be worried about, because it's one of the things we have high importance on.
Perfect. And so you send your shoes in. How do you ensure that they are real, and how do you catalog their condition when they come in?
So this is another good question, dude. So there are two things we do, because obviously authenticity and making sure these sneakers are legit is like the name of the game, right? So when it's sent to our warehouse, we have people checking, and we're doing first is checked by people. So those people come in and they see that the shoe's authentic, it's not fake or it's not damaged, and then we use AI checkers. We put in a box, and it identifies through various different ways to identify if it's fake or not. So we use a machine and human process in determining if an item is fake or not.
Excellent. What about, and this might be a tough question to answer, and I'm sure it hasn't happened yet, but like, what about stolen? Like, have you had that issue come up where like there's authentic items, but they weren't legally obtained, and had to deal with law enforcement, anything in that regard yet?
No, that hasn't happened so far. So you're asking if a user is stolen from someone else and then shipped it to our vault? No, I don't think that issue has come up. But if it does come up and it's something that is brought on, we have a great customer service team that can handle it on a per issue basis. So hopefully the correct party, the person who's in the right, we take care of them. Yeah.
Cool.
The issue so far hasn't popped.
There's just a weird thing that popped in my head just talking about that. Like, wait, what if they did that?
Oh, good. No, that would be an interesting story.
I'd like to go off on weird tangents. I'll try to stick to the main thread here, though. So you've sent it in. Your seller, you can have the option of vaulting it, which means just storing it there under your guys' watchful eye, or attempting to trade it. Let's talk about the first part first. If you're storing it there, what do you pay? Like, is there like a monthly fee, annual fee to like keep your stuff stored in these conditions?
No, we have no storage fees at the moment, so a user can store it at our vault without incurring any storage fees at the moment. The only fees that we do incur is that when the user does sell the item, there's a seller's fee involved, which is 8% of how much they're selling it for. And if the user decides to redeem the item and that they wanted to return to them, we do charge a fee for it to be returned. So yeah, to answer your question, no storage fees, but there are fees in getting that item returned and selling it.
That's awesome. Do you think that a lot of people will use it strictly for storage? Like, are you worried about that? Because no storage fees is amazing. I wasn't expecting that.
What we think is that our thesis is that that we'll that the Web3 community can provide liquidity similar to how you see a lot of these NFTs being bought and sold. They make these NFTs, these highly illiquid assets, liquid, right? Like we saw that happen with Blur, where certain NFTs were illiquid and it became liquid through making buying and selling much easier. So we hope the same can happen here. So if you're someone who wants to really move your assets, like your lost and founds or your Travis Scott's, you want to trade that, and there is a buyer and seller market for it. I think most people would take that opportunity.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. Do you think there will be a lot of traders who never even touch these assets? Like you said, in Web3, there's a lot of traders that trade NFTs and they don't care that there's a JPEG attached. It just happens to be a coin to them. Do you think you'll see a lot of that activity where people never take ownership and just, try to flip for profit on the system?
I think we could see that happen, right? Like I think like we see it happen. Like the secret market is based on this, right? Like we see like the Travis Scotts in the past few months and the Pine Forest just been increasing in value, just because one of them. And similarly, this idea can be applied when we tokenize some of these assets like the Pine Force and the Travises on our platform. So I think it's only a matter of time before more buyers and sellers kind of realize what Myna is doing and the opportunity that is there. So it's only time, I guess.
Awesome. One back to the buyer's side of it, because I just kind of had this thought. What happens when you have multiple of a specific item, like same brand, same model, same color, same size? Let's say you have like 5 of these pairs. Are there like specific individual photos for a buyer to review and decide which specific pair they want to buy, or is it kind of like a first in, first out, like whoever, or first in, yeah, first in, first out, like whoever got their product in there first gets to be the first one sold? How's it work?
Sorry, could you? I don't think I understand the question. So you were saying,
Yeah, let's say.
what happens if?
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
So you're saying what happens if we have like the lost and found size 10,
Mm-hmm.
right? And a buy, and then there are two sellers have
Yeah.
listed it, and it's like the same
Yep.
size. How does it work? So how it works is that whoever has the lowest listing, that will appear first to the buyer. So if one person is listed at like $100, the other seller is listed at 99. So the buyer that comes in will see the 99 first, and if they buy that one, that will be bought, and then we will then show the $100 listing.
Okay, great. But there are like I'm looking at the site, and there's like these gorgeous photos of all the shoes. Are you guys doing that for every single pair that comes in?
Yes, yes, that's a good question, right? So we wanted to make sure that every pair that comes in, we take pictures of it. So all of these are mine original pictures that we took at our vault. So yeah, it took a lot of time. It took operations work, but yeah. So these are all original mine pictures that we
Awesome.
took.
Yeah, I was just wondering, like, as a buyer, you can inspect. So it's like maybe one pair's 100, maybe one other's 150, but the 100 has a scuff on it that you can see in one angle.
No, but we don't sell any damaged pairs, if that's what
Oh,
you're asking.
okay.
Like, these are all new pairs that are all identical to each other. So there should not be any difference between one pair of shoes to the other pair of shoes. Like one Jordan lost and found size 10 would be identical to the other Jordan one lost and found size 10. So there wouldn't be any
I
differences.
see. I see. Yeah, you have to forgive me. I'm not into the kicks culture. I don't know I don't know shoes. I don't know how it works. I was assuming that maybe there would be assets on the site at some point that were historical, right? Like something that was only sold 30 years ago, and there you might have a hard time finding a new in-box pair.
No, they're all new pairs, so none of them have been used. They're all new.
Okay, cool. Makes sense. So let's talk. You upload, you send in the shoe, you get into your wallet a digital version of the shoe that you can then trade or do whatever. Is there what happens if the digital asset becomes disassociated from the real world asset? So like an example already in play is like some one of one artists create a painting, like a physical painting, canvas painting, and as a fun throw in, they like throw in like a digital version of it to the buyer, and the buyer gets both. But then the buyer decides to sell the canvas but still has the NFT, and all of a sudden you have this asset that becomes kind of split in half in different ownership. If somebody loses, or like their asset gets burned or stolen, their digital asset, how do you deal with the separation of those two?
So the way it works is that when the user sends in their shoe to our vault, right? And they won't receive the physical version unless the NFT is burned. So if they want the physical version of the shoe, we will burn the NFT and send it to them.
Okay, yeah, makes sense. Oh, go ahead.
There wouldn't be a discontinuation or like that type of issue pop up.
Okay, and apologies, you're cutting out on me a little bit, so I sometimes think you're done, and then I'm wrong. So sorry.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah, so the wallets are not necessarily like self custody. So you guys take care of it so that like they can't get hacked, can't get stolen, that sort of thing.
So the wallet, so you can log in with your own wallet, or you can log in with your Google or email, right? So it's up to you, right? On how it depends on what type of user you are. If you're a Web3 power user, you might want to use your MetaMask. But if you are like a Web2 user, it might make sense that you just want to sign up with your email or Google account just to make things easier for you.
Yeah, I asked this question just generally because it's something that comes up in crypto and blockchain a lot, right? Which is when you are self-custodying, you are your own bank, you are your own security system, you are your own everything. So for a lot of people, I think there is comfort in knowing that there's a company behind it that's backing it. So for example, somebody goes out on the water in their water sports boating and drops their ledger and their seed phrase paper into the ocean and loses access to the wallet that has their assets. Is there a means and a process by which they can regain access to their assets that are on Myna?
If that is the case, they could contact our customer support team, and then we could probably figure out a solution if that case ever happens. But it's a very difficult thing, right? If they lose access to their wallet, it's hard to verify if they were the wallet owner in the first place. So as always, we recommend that if you do sign up with like your wallet connection, you take care, but you take the proper precautions, right?
Awesome. Yeah. I like to talk safety. I like to ask safety questions and edge cases. Again, getting off on weird tangents. I'm sure the crowd will have better questions for us than I do, but I see the requests in there. Just give us a minute. We will get to audience questions in just a little bit. You mentioned at the beginning that, right now it's shoes. It looks like it's 100% shoes. You also said Pokemon cards and another item. What are some of the areas you're going to expand to items that people can lock up with you?
Yeah, the future, like the collectibles market is huge, right? There's watches, there's trading cards like Pokemon, One Piece cards, like sports cards. Like we want to expand to those markets, and luckily it's only time until we do. We have the operations expertise, so we're just building on some of the more Web3 centric features before we delve into opening our marketplace up even more.
Nice. Have you ever thought about wine? I had a boss that used an offsite wine storage that I had to like go fetch bottles for him. Is that a use case you ever thought about?
It is a use case that we've thought about, but as you know, wine has its own difficulties, right? It's a bit more temperature
Yeah.
regulated, and something we might get into in the future, but the focus right now is sneakers, watches, trading cards, and apparel.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean that's one of those ones where you might have to charge a vault fee, right? Because the most likely use case is people just want to vault it and then have it sent to them for special occasions. And in that case, you'd be losing money on vaulting it for free for them. So, like a common refrain among blockchain doubters is this is not an issue. This is a solution in search of a problem, or it's already been solved by other methods better. So why are you guys using blockchain to make this experience better? Like, how is it making the experience better?
Yeah, so there are many things, right? So the reason why we thought to incorporate blockchain and like why other platforms like you have the StockX's and the GOATs of the world, I think what blockchain offers us is that it creates a more we can prove authenticity with those items, right? We can, once it's minted on our marketplace, it is proven that this is a legit item, and then people can store it at a warehouse without worrying about physical storage. As well as like the buying and selling is one of the key aspects on how we differ, right? Like if I go on StockX and I want to buy a shoe right now at $400, so I buy that pair of shoes, and then maybe the next day it goes up to $600, right? So now I have to wait for that shoe to come to my house, and then I have to list it again. So that's almost like 2 weeks for it to come, and then 2 weeks for it to go out again. And it creates like almost like a month before you start moving inventory. Well, with Myna, right, it's minted to your wallet, and then within seconds, right, you see that shoe price increase. You can list it, and hopefully you get a buyer, and you can capitalize on that arbitrage, right? So that's what we think the blockchain offers us, as well as like there are many other things, right? Like you see how other RWA platforms enable lending, liquidity pools. These are all tools that we can build on the blockchain as compared to these other competitors, which can, right? Because they don't have like they can't build these liquidity pool lending trades. Even like if you want to trade one asset for another, it's quite hard for these other Web2 marketplaces to do it, which is why one of the biggest reasons why we decided to build on AVAX was because it's low fees, it's fast. So yeah, and I think there's so many benefits that building on the blockchain allows.
Yeah, I was gonna ask that. So you guys are on the C chain, mainnet, basically now. Did you have any thoughts about eventually moving to a subnet or needing a subnet if you're worried about having your own block space? If fees ever got crazy because there was some weird NFT thing going on, do you think it's something on the horizon, on the plan, or you guys are kind of comfy on the C chain right now?
I think we're comfy on the C chain, but obviously as we expand, we're keeping our options open. We won't keep an open mind as well, right? There's a lot of liquidity being on mainnet provides, so yeah.
Yes, and with Teleporter, you'll have access to that liquidity on a subnet as well. Yeah. So it really comes down to, do you need the block space? I know it's a big solution for gaming. You mentioned also like the expense. Is it cheaper to get started with like having the blockchain infrastructure built out for all of this rather than building your own bespoke solution to it, or having to pay a third party to like set up an internal database? Is that like another driving factor for doing it on Avalanche versus a Web2 solution?
So like the main reason like we went to AVAX as compared to like an L1 like Ethereum is because AVAX is obviously much faster, and also the transaction fees are much better for a lot of like Web3 users, but also Web2 users, right? Like what we see a lot happen is our Web2 audience, they come on, they buy like almost 100 shoes in one visit, and obviously we don't want them to pay like like $10 to buy one shoes, right? They'd be like, for them it should be almost like cents, right? Like, and AVAX provides a solution to that and making transactions cheap for these Web2 users without them even knowing.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I obviously 100% agree with regards to the different blockchain platforms. I just meant doing blockchain versus, like a Web2 database. Is it cheaper to kind of like get started and spin that up with a blockchain that's already established?
Yeah, I mean, launching a database is obviously it's easier to do, but I think we want to build for the long term, and I think having our smart contracts on the blockchain and then also keeping buying and selling data on the blockchain, I think provides us long term value. It provides like the idea of the providence, right? Like if, like for instance, a huge celebrity comes on, they buy a pair of shoes, other people would see that, like they see that wallet buying these pairs of shoes, and obviously someone would want one of the celebrity pairs. Like who's the big celebrity right now? I'm thinking
Drake or Kendrick Lamar.
yeah, I was gonna think Drake, but like the beef was coming up, and I was like, all right. For instance, Kendrick Lamar comes on, he buys one of his shoes, right? He buys the Kendrick Lamar Nikes, and then you see that it was in his wallet, and there's a record of that on the blockchain. That the value of the shoe he owns, it becomes exponentially higher because of the provenance of the fact that he owned it. So once, if he ever listed and you bought it, the value of you owning that Kendrick Lamar shoe that he owned becomes more important. It has higher significance. Yeah.
And if he ships that back to himself and has it in his possession, but then sends it back to the vault, does it then create it burns an NFT, creates a new NFT? Is there a way of proving that provenance still, or does the chain get broken if they physically take ownership of it?
So if they take physical ownership of the asset, it will be burned. But if they decide to send it again to the vault, it will show that they own that item. It'll show that they own the item. So there's still providence that Kendrick Lamar owns it if he decides to vault it again.
It's really cool. Would you ever consider working with celebrities to do individual, like singular drops? Like if Kendrick Lamar signed a pair or something, and it would have its own sort of category and be a one of one. Is that something that like is in the roadmap potentially?
Yeah, what you're talking about is something, we obviously want to do creator drops. You see OpenSea do this a lot with big artists, that these big artists come on, they drop a collection, and obviously maybe in the future we would be into doing that, where we're an art, like where maybe a big shoe, like a big shoe artist comes on, he wants to hype his pair of shoes, he can come on we can broker deal, and he can come on and do a creator drop. It's obviously something we want to do in the future because the space, the sneaker space and the Web3 space is obviously super creative, and like you guys are the arts and culture, right? There's so much culture and art involved in these two areas, and I think it would be a shame not to capitalize on it.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm assuming also in the roadmap plan would be to do just standard drops too, like getting an allotment of certain. Like I'm in LA area. Sometimes I'll drive down Melrose. I'll see these people that have been lined up and camped out for a night to get a certain pair of shoes when they drop that next morning.
Yeah. So we do that already. We haven't publicized it much as yet, but a lot of our Web2 audience really is in tune with it. So we've dropped a couple of we did a trophy room drop last month, which was pretty successful, where we dropped only one singular pair of shoes, and we had, I think, like 80 of them, and that went pretty well. And in the past few months, we've done multiple drops with a lot of hype shoes, priced very nicely and under market, and we've seen a lot of success with that. Our first big drop we did was on Black Friday, where we sold almost all our inventory that we had for this drop, which was amazing. It was the first big proving ground for Myna.
Nice. Yeah, I just envision. I know that like part of the, I'm sure it's part of the culture, part of the experience to go out and like wait overnight for shoes. I've definitely done it for not video games. I've lined up at midnight for a midnight release, but yeah, like it's part of the experience to a degree. But I'm sure there are people that would appreciate the ability to just do a virtual drop, be able to be from their desk at work and try to get in and get a pair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you got muted. I couldn't hear the last part of what you said.
Oh, no, I was just saying, I think there'd be definitely people that would appreciate like the ability to kind of do it virtually. Is there, and this is like one of the whenever I'm like trying to explain NFTs and why you should use them for like ticketing or whatever, like one use is basically like allow listing people, right? And it's a way of saying, okay, these people have been long and loyal fans. They should have first shot at this without getting locked out. The example I always use is like Taylor Swift. It's like if you could take an old ticket as an NFT from a Taylor Swift concert that you attended, and that would be your allow list to buy the next one, you might avoid some of this like scalping and Ticketmaster crappy practices that happen where somebody comes in and buys the full allotment and then, everything gets jacked up 300%. So like, is there a system in place maybe for allow listing for Myna for people that want to get in on drops and have shown the loyalty and the length of time committed to the platform?
Yeah, that's a feature we're working on at the moment. Like, as you see with a lot of crypto projects that are up right now, you see how they're rewarding their users through transactions, through vaulting, like through transactions and just interacting with their protocol. We're planning to do the same in the next coming months, so stay tuned. So if you are someone who's on the fence on Myna, I encourage you to transact on Myna before it's too late, before we launch our program, because we will be rewarding early users of the platform. So stay tuned for that, because and that's one of the main things that having these transactions on the blockchain, we can see who our early users have been, right? Like if you're the person who transacted on the first month on Myna when we launched, we obviously regard you as a high value user, right? These users were the ones who stuck with us in the early months, who kind of were there when we had a few bugs and stuck with us. So obviously we want to reward these guys.
Yeah, I love it. Again, all of these like features are going through their own individual narrative cycles here. Like you said, like, airdrops and farming are a thing right now, but it could, eventually that like sort of provenance and loyalty and allow listing will just be one feature of these different experiences, but we all got to kind of explain them and figure them out first amongst ourselves. So we're past the half hour mark, so I wanted to open up the floor. I brought Smokey up a minute ago, but kind of had a couple more questions come up. But now I'm ready for you, Smokey. How you doing?
Hey, Huddle. How's it going? So
good. How are you?
Awesome.
Here's my little critique. And I like what you've got going on. I'm going to put my hand down because I look like an idiot now. But so what would stop somebody from, say, hitting up a really well-known glitch artist and then just doing it without Myna?
What do you mean?
So as a for instance,
what do you mean by glitch
as
artist?
a for instance, I'll use myself as an example. I'm going to be giving away a guitar. So my buddy Wrath is going to be making some really cool glitch art for it. And then we're going to be doing it on Raffler. Now, what would incentivize us to pivot to Myna?
Yeah, at the moment we don't accept into like individual things, like maybe it's like a guitar. That's not something we specialize in. I think what we do specialize in is if it is like if you have a trading card, like you have the first Charizard, like you want to send that in, that's something. Or if you have like the Jordan ones from the first pair of Jordans back from the 80s 90s, and you can send those in. Right now our specialty isn't around creator drops, but it is something we might consider. But maybe I don't understand your question as yet.
Okay, so you have a really neat platform, and what I see utility in is the storage aspect. I like that. But Huddle's right, charge for it because space is expensive. But that is really neat for people with a lot of stuff to tokenize their asset, hold it in a wallet, and be like, I still own this. It's just somewhere else. That's a really good idea. I really like that. But in terms of trading it, I don't understand. That's what I'm trying to put two and two together with, because what would keep Myna being the spot to do all the trading when you have places like Trader Joe, you've got places like Hyperspace, Campfire, Salver, all these great NFT marketplaces on Avalanche that are already doing that. And I think what you might have missed in my previous statement was that's what we're doing. We're giving away an RWA as an NFT just
Yeah.
on these marketplaces that exist already. So I like the storage idea that you've got, but what would keep people trading on Myna?
Yeah, what keeps people trading on Myna is that sure, if a user wants, so when we mint so for a user to send the asset in, they have to interact through Myna. They can't interact with Trader Joe, for instance, right? We make sure that any person who sends these assets in, we like if you have a pair of sneakers, like you have the Jordan ones, you can go ahead and mint on OpenSea and create an NFT based on that, but there isn't like and person can come in and they could be like, oh, so Smokey minted this Jordan 1 that represents a shoe he owns. There's no way for that other party to verify that it is an authentic pair of shoes, or if you even actually own the shoe, right? Well, with us, they can send that pair in, we verify it, we make sure it's authentic, and it's in our warehouse, right? So both parties, the seller and the buyers, are aware that this is a shoe that's been verified by mine. So people can come on and buy and sell, right? Maybe it's in the person's wallet, and a Web3 Power user could go onto like maybe an OpenSea and buy and sell it to a buyer there. But what the difference is that on Myna, there's like the liquidity of the Web2 users on there. So we have a lot of Web2 users that if you want to list your item, a lot of mixed audience between Web2 and Web3 can decide to buy that item, and I think we would have a lot more liquidity for Myna assets as compared to if you did the trading on like Trader Joe's or OpenSea. And then also if you decide to ship that item to you, that can only be done on Myna, right? You can't really go on Trader Joe's and decide to ship that item because it's not a Trader Joe's type. It's not a Trader Joe control. It's not a Trader Joe. It's not in the Trader Joe vault. It's in the Myna vault. So I think those are kind of the core main benefits of why a user would buy and sell on Myna as compared to like another marketplace.
Yeah, I think what Smokey's asking is, will it be an issue if users try to trade OTC off Myna to avoid the 8% commission that you guys take? So like somebody tokenizes it with Myna, they go trade it on Trader Joe. Trader Joe takes up like a percentage or whatever, 0.5%, whatever they charge. And then that new user that bought it comes back to Myna with the asset and then redeems it for the shipping cost. Is there any worry there?
No, so the user could do that. That's a potential they could do. They can use another marketplace like OpenSea or Trader Joe's if they wanted to trade that NFT. We just think that if they right now it probably makes the most sense to buy and sell on Myna because we do offer that that better liquidity for buyers to come in and try and buy Smokey's shoe, for instance. But if it is an organized deal, they could and they would not be penalized to go on like a external marketplace. I mean, that's kind of the beauty of Web3, right? These buyers and sellers can use different protocols and use different protocols to interact with the NFT, right? So
yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, I think it's an interesting. It would be a good problem to have if Myna is popping off so much that people are starting to trade off, off market because there is liquidity available elsewhere. That would mean that Myna is humming along so well that it's kind of migrated elsewhere as well.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that would be a good problem. So if we do see external marketplace trading, we could evaluate it. But I think right now, I think if someone wants to create a yield platform that utilizes Myna assets, I think that's fine. It increases Myna volume, and also it's a new way for users to interact with Myna items. So yeah,
it's going to be fun when there's like staking for the physical shoes token. Like somebody creates a third-party platform, like stake your Myna assets here and get yield. It's going to be interesting new derivatives off of real-world assets. So
I'm waiting for the No Chill team to stake their Crocs now.
Right?
It needs to happen.
Dude, we're still waiting on the Myna, the AVAX Crocs. We're still waiting on someone to ship it into our
Is that one?
So if anyone has it, feel free to send it over, and it would be fun to see the buying and selling occur on this.
Wait a minute, are the Midnight Crocs available as an option on on Myna?
Yeah, yeah, they are. Because they just need to search it up, and I think it's over there.
Oh my God, that's incredible! Yeah, I hope somebody puts some up. I'd be interested in that. That's awesome. Great question, Smokey. Thank you. If anybody else has a question or thought, please feel free to come up. If you're shy as well, you can put a little comment down in the bottom right hand corner. There's the dialogue looking icon. If you drop a question under there, I will review it and read it out for you. Again, if you're a little too shy. But yeah, great question. Yeah, it's hard to predict complex markets like these and where people might take it. But yeah, I think you guys have definitely put a lot of thought into it as much as you can before kind of getting it out there. Have there been any adjustments of that regard, like within the contract or within the way the system is set up since you guys first started, because you saw certain user behaviors that you wanted to disincentivize or user behaviors that you wanted to incentivize?
So what we realized that happened as Myna started opening up to more and more users is that we got an inflow of like a lot of like Web2 sneakerheads, right? And a lot of them were bulk buyers, bulk sellers. So these guys are using the platform. So what we started building out is a tool set for them to bulk sell these items, so they can sell multiple items that they own and decide to list multiple of them. Similar to how you saw Blur come in, where OpenSea originally was targeting those people who only bought and sold one NFT. Blur came in, they said you can come on, you can bulk buy and you can bulk sell. So we saw the same user patterns happening here. So we enabled bulk selling to occur, so people can list multiple NFTs in one go. And right now we're working on other bulk features as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Smokey, anything else? Any other questions you had?
No, that was about it. I've got a couple things that I had the idea to tokenize and give away, but it seems like you've solidified yourself in the shoe game. I like how your DS is buck for everything. You've got everything brand new in box, no scuffs, scratches, or dents. And I love how you've got the whole storage aspect. If people have a plethora of shoes that they've got just hanging out in their apartment and they're like, I don't want to get rid of them, but I don't want them here and I don't want to rent a storage unit, that's a great idea because you could still see them in your wallet as their tokens. And I think that you've got a great path moving forward, and I'm excited to see what you guys do.
I mean, we have an exciting couple of months, especially if you're like a Web3 user. As I said before, we plan to learn something really cool in the next few weeks. So if you're on the fence on joining Myna, like buying and selling or even vaulting, I encourage you to do so because early users will be rewarded, and we have a lot planned in. So yeah, and I think like we see like a lot of, and to talk about you said Smokey, like a lot of people have these sneakers at their house, but for whatever reason, it's taking up a lot of space or they're moving, but they don't want to sell these sneakers at a low price. So they can send it over to the Myna vault and it'll be secure there. And at a later time, they can decide to buy, sell them without incurring huge fees as they do right now, if they need to move super suddenly.
Awesome. I'm sure that this question will probably come up at some point. Are you familiar at all with 404s, the new protocol?
Oh my God, that was the
NFT?
other question that I had, because you were talking about liquidity to images, and I was like, "There's a thing on AVAX that we're doing." Like, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So Moody, if you're not aware, there's a semi-newish protocol for NFTs called 404s, which basically creates a system where they're both a coin and an NFT. I'm kind of also explaining for the audience out there as well, in case you're unaware. So it kind of, the idea is to bring in traders of both types, like traders of meme coins, traders of NFTs. When you assemble a certain amount of this coin, it in your wallet is swapped for a specific NFT. A lot of times the amount is usually one. So one coin equals one NFT. So you can interact with these collections in two ways. You can either list them as individual NFTs when you have NFTs in your wallet as 721s, as individual, like, hey, you don't want to buy this with these traits. Or you can go take it to liquidity pools like Trader Joe, and you can sell as much of the coin as there is liquidity to support. and even down to fractionalized, amounts. So this is a long-winded version of asking about, do you ever envision a system on Myna with fractionalized ownership where, like, if assets you start to get really, really valuable, expensive assets, $100,000 sneakers. Can you envision a place where people could buy little pieces of that and own it as a fractionalized version? And in order to redeem it, somebody would have to reacquire 100% of it.
No, I'm fully aware about 404s. It's come up multiple times as we're doing discussions with engineers and stuff. But especially as we want, if you take in watches and all that, watches can get super expensive, upwards to above 10K. So I think 404s provide a lot of liquidity. Similar to ERC20s are traded much more easily as compared to ERC 721s. I think 404s allow us to get that middle ground. So it's something obviously we have in mind. It's not something I can talk more about here, but it's something. All I'll say is that it's something we have in mind.
Yeah, I could just imagine, like, going back to the example of Providence, where it's Kendrick Lamar shoes, and that particular pair, because it was owned by him, is so expensive. There'd be probably some people that would want to say, like, I own $10 worth of that shoe. Like, I own 0.2% of that shoe. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, I mean that it is something like you really want to do, and especially if it is like more unique or like more like if it's like sneakers, or it's like a watch that Kendrick Lamar owns, or it's like how love like these F1 drivers are sponsored by like Richard Mille, Tiger, it's the watch they wore when they won the race or something. I think that can provide a lot of value to collectors and hobbyists. So something we were thinking about, but we still want to focus and dominate the market we're in. We ideally want to become the number one sneaker trading platform in Web3 and Web2. So we'll conquer one market at a time, right? So yeah.
100%. Yeah, it's just fun to dream about the future. These situations where people could have different use cases on Myna, and it becomes this fun trading platform that doesn't necessarily have to like really even involve the RWAs, even if they are backing the token at hand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So if anybody else has any questions or thoughts, Moody is here for another couple minutes to spend his time with us. In the meantime, while we're waiting to see if anybody wants to pop up and say hello, I just want to say how cool it is to look at the iteration of these things, because I've been in Avalanche for a long, long time, several years now, and we've had different platforms that have had different pieces of this, right? But to see it, sort of come together in the form of Myna and watch you guys continue to iterate on it is really cool. So the fractionalized ownership that we were just talking about, there was a project called Particle that did it with a painting of Banksy's back in the day, and you could own like a little piece of Banksy, and in doing so, it gave you access to go see the painting when it was on tour. You had to prove ownership of one of the Particle pieces. So like that was like an interesting fractionalized ownership aspect of it. We also had the Tops platform, which actually is still on Avalanche, of course, but it's all very abstracted away, and it's a very Web2 experience, even though it is on the blockchain. And there you can trade virtual trading cards like baseball cards, garbage pail kids, fun stuff like that in their platform. But like a limitation of it is they control the experience. The wallet was custodial to them, controlled by them, so you couldn't bring it out as a way of them keeping it on their marketplace and keeping their fees. So there were little limitations there, but like continuing to grow and expand on the capabilities, I think is really interesting to see with regards to some of these assets.
Yeah, I guess, but yeah, we're not custodial, so users can own their assets, right? So if you buy a mine item, it's in your wallet, and it's something we saw, like especially after the FTX situation, all that, we want to make sure that users own their assets, and it's not something where we hold the keys or we can ever take away the keys. So I think that's we want to keep close to this Web3 ethos of decentralization around users having the choice on like if they want to buy, sell, or if they want to, or like even create their new protocols around Myna items. I think that's all open to the community and our users.
And that's awesome, because it's a question that comes up a lot, is like, well, Web3 enables empowerment for users. And a lot of times people are, the naysayers are like, well, why would businesses ever want to do that? Like, why would video game companies want to give you ownership of your assets when they could just sell it to somebody else for the same price and blah, blah, blah. And I think the answer has always been there'll be companies like Myna that do it. The people get used to the experience of having it, and then they'll start to demand it. And so it's like somebody's got to start that process. So admirable that you're doing so. We have another question up here. Ahmad, do you have a question for Moody?
Hey guys, how you doing? Not really a question, just say love what you guys are doing. Love what Myna is doing, definitely taking that space over sneakers. Just because, instead of storing it in, in U-Haul storage or, lugging it with you, and everywhere place you go, why not have a place? And that keeps you storing it for free. And then you actually, as soon as the prices go up, you could just tailor your price on demand. The only thing that I had a question is, when you do sell it and you guys burn the NFT, why not just hide the NFT until when the shoe gets purchased from another person, and and then it's like another catalog on there too.
So for instance, if I'm the seller and you buy my NFT, right? The NFT isn't burnt in that way. The NFT is transferred to your wallet. The only flow where it's burnt is if you decide to redeem the item and get the physical version. That's the only instance when it will be burned. Otherwise, when you sell, we never burn it. It's just transferred to the new owner's wallet.
Got it. But when the new owner wants to receive the item, will you still have the NFT on your marketplace, or would the NFT, like, let's just say if I purchased it and I get it, I take the item out of your storage?
Yeah, then it would be burnt in that case, just because we want to be in sync with that item, right? The source of truth should be the warehouse. So if we don't have that item in our vault, then the NFT will be burnt. So we always want to be in sync, because we don't know when the item is shipped over to you. Something can always happen. You wear it, or you can send it to someone.
Yeah, sell it off
We just
platform,
want to be
exactly.
Exactly. And then also touching upon what you said, this idea that I think, especially in the future, people's worth can be determined by what they own, right? Like, I think, when you see someone, you see what they're wearing, but that only captures one dimension of them. If you see their wallet, you can see all their different sneakers, all of the other different collectibles.
Yeah, like I have my closet, right? I can't. They're hidden in my closet or my room.
Exactly.
No, I love it. I'm doing nothing. I mean, nothing like crazy like you guys. I'm working with Full Send and Happy Dad on a new project called Board Jerky. And pretty much we took Bored Apes and we created a brand of beef jerky around it. And then pretty much we're launching it everywhere you'll find Happy Dad, if you guys know what that is.
Yeah, I'm familiar with Happy Dad, although I can't buy it over here where I am, but I'm familiar with the beverage.
Awesome. Yeah.
Well, thank you guys. Thank you, Ahmad. That was a great question. I think it's an interesting idea too, but like Moody said, you have to be able to ensure that there's no swap of the item or something that happens out in the real world. Might be something that in the future could be done with a truly verifiable, unique item, like a car that has VIN numbers all over it or something, maybe.
Yeah, NFC chips, all of that, but I think that industry is still developing. And maybe as it evolves, we can integrate it. But for now, I think the vault being the vault and the blockchain being the source of truth, I think is the most important for us.
Awesome. Well, we're at the hour. If anybody else wants to ask a question, this is your speak now or forever hold your peace moment. Get your hand raised up and come on up. And in the meantime, while we wait, I'll give you. Oh, go ahead, Moody.
No, nothing. I don't think I said.
Oh, anything. I'm sorry. I heard a little blip. Oh, you know what? Ahmad's still unmute. I'm going to mute you, Ahmad. I'm sorry. Just so that I'm not getting any interference there. Okay. Yeah. So while we're waiting for questions, last chance if you want to hop up, say hello, or ask a question down in the comments. I'll go down and take a look. I don't see any right there. Can you tell me a little bit about the audience you're targeting? I know you're saying you want Web2, sneakerheads, but you also want Web3 enthusiasts. How are you going after them separately? So, like, coming on this Spaces and talking about it, I think is something that's clearly in the bucket of targeting Web3 users, crypto natives. What are some of the things that you're doing to get in front of the regular Web2 sneaker crowd?
You said you're from LA, right?
Yes.
So are you familiar with the Cool Kicks on Mouse?
Yeah, I think that's the place where people are lined up outside when I drive by it every once in a while.
I'm not sure if you're familiar. Like Deal from Cool Kicks is like one of like our like he's part of both Cool Kicks and Myna. So a lot of the audience from Cool Kicks has also been introduced to Myna. So them being a huge leader in the sneaker world, I think has provided us a lot of eyes to Web2 audience, especially like their YouTube channel has over like 1 million subs. And each of like the individual influencers within Cool Kicks, like Dio, Champagne Paki, Rami, all of them have been really vocal about Myna, and I think has opened a lot of new eyes to us. So in terms of the Web2 crowd, that's also using different technologies like using Third Webs Connect, so Web2 users can just sign up with email and Google or Apple and use a credit card. We make this process we abstract the crypto parts of Myna so well that most of them have no idea they're the block.
Awesome.
So yeah, I think we've designed it for Web2 audience, but if you Web3, like obviously being active on our Twitter and going on these spaces, but also we plan to, as I mentioned and hinted at, we plan to launch a few very crypto native programs that I think like a Web3 crowd would really be into. So, yeah.
Great. Yeah. Have you seen any instance of blowback? I mean, because you guys do such a good job of abstracting away and kind of hiding the fact that crypto or blockchain is powering it. I've seen some people occasionally get upset at protocols that do it because they're like, you have to disclose it, because they just have some weird moral opposition to using a blockchain for some reason, because it becomes so tribal. Have you seen any blowback in that regard where anybody's been like, I don't want to use this specifically because you're on the blockchain?
No, we haven't gotten that specific feedback, and I'm thankful for that, because I think we made sure that when we communicate Myna to more Web2 crowd, we don't use any like vocabulary that they might not be, that would create this type of fear. Like especially especially in the past few weeks, like you've seen that Tom Brady roast about Bitcoin, and also the Ohio commencement speaker like talking about Bitcoin. You've seen the like people's reactions, like the boos and the laughs. So we want to be mindful of that. So we really want to make sure that the way we're communicating Myna isn't scaring them off.
Yeah, it's a tricky problem, because we've already seen it, and I mention it because we've seen it specifically with some Avalanche projects where if you try to, like, if you don't message it enough, somebody finds out and gets upset and thinks that you're trying to hide it because you're ashamed of it. But if you message it, it like scares people away, because they're like, all they know is Bored Apes and scams, and they don't have any other association with blockchain and crypto other than that. So it's just an interesting problem, and it's probably one that we could have a whole Spaces on separately. But
yeah, I mean, really the person to thank for that is Christina. I think you met her at the AVAX, and I think she might be here. Like, she's communicated, like she hasn't hidden, like, in our communications, she hasn't hidden the fact that we do use blockchain technology. She's created she's created a very well-balanced communication around this. So I applaud her, and I'm very thankful for her and the way she communicated Myna to a lot of like the Web2 crowd.
Love it. Awesome. Well, we're way over time now, and I appreciate you for sticking around and answering a couple extra questions. I do find this stuff very, very fascinating and exciting to put more use and more utility to NFTs, and kind of introduce it to the general public a little bit better. So thank you for sticking around. Thank you to our question askers, Smokey and Ahmad. And you are the guest of honor, Myna. So anything that you want to close out our Spaces with?
So I would say, stay tuned to what Myna is bringing up in the next coming weeks. Keep an eye on our Twitter. If you haven't followed us, follow us. We're going to post a lot of cool stuff in the next few days, so keep an eye out. And if you're still on the fence about creating an account and buying a shoe, like if you have a shoe you're really interested in, get it before it's gone. And also, if you have any more questions, you can DM us on the Myna account. We'll answer any questions that come on. And if you have any customer service related questions, contact us at help@myna.co. We're always online there. So if you have any question about your orders or general questions about it, you can also contact us there. But yeah, stay tuned. We have a lot coming up as well.
Incredible. And I put the official account handle up in the title. So that is the MynaSwap account. If you want to click there and make sure you're clicking on all valid links and watch out for scammers. Thank you again, Moody. I appreciate it. Everybody else, thank you for listening, and we will catch you on the next one.